Community is the compass, built not of sameness, but of voices varied and vibrant, stitched together in a quilt of care and resistance. Let difference be our strength, not our division.
All right, good evening. We started a little late. We had a little bit of technical difficulties going on here down at the station. I couldn't seem to get the mic or the speaker working properly, but we seem to be good to go now. So I hope everybody had a wonderful day. Today is what is today's date?
Mr. Todd M. Lyons, a member of the
What is
Mr.
today's
Todd
date?
M. Lyons,
Let's
a
see.
member of the
We're
senior
talking about
executive
Mr. Todd
service,
M. Lyons.
currently serves
He's
as the
the
senior official performing the duty. Mr. Todd M. Lyons,
Jesus
a member of the
Christ.
senior executive service, currently
I
serves
tell you,
as
today's
the
just
senior
one of them
official
days,
performing
you know?
the duties of the Director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
One of those days. Couldn't find proper things. Speakers wasn't working. Microphone was not working. Now I'm trying to look up information. Can't get that properly. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in to POLITRICS. My name is Kendall Stevenson. I'm also here with my brother Yates. He's more or less an analyst. He does the political analyzing, tells us what's going on. He tells it to us straight. In other words, talk truth to power. So many of us don't do that nowadays. We don't talk truth to power, but he does. And he does it in a very elegant way, much more elegant than I can. So with I'm not even gonna knock on the door, ring the bell or anything. I'm just gonna bring the brother to the stage. What's happening? Ashe, my brother, how you, man?
What's up, brother? How are you?
What's up? I was telling you, this is one of them days for me. You know, I woke up this morning, had a little bit of a head cold. Then you know, my arm is bothering me. Then I'm going through all the technical difficulties trying to get this together, trying to get that together. We're here at this particular point in time right now, man. But you know, we always like to start off by being grateful for something, and I'm grateful right now that the weather is starting to act like it should, man. You know, because it was freezing for the last couple of days, man.
Oh.
I mean, more than the past week. We're talking about sub-zero degree weather. I mean, just cold, like if you were in the Arctic. I felt at times when I walked out the door. What do they call it? The rotunda. When it's like freezing outside, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, the tundra, yeah.
Yeah. I felt like I was walking into a damn refrigerator at times, man, a freezer.
The refrigerator was warmer.
Yeah, I can imagine those cats, man, who work like for Boar's Head or one of those meat packing organizations, and they have to constantly go in and out of that damn freezer. I mean, it must be, I couldn't imagine the temperature in there. Well below 32 degrees, I can tell you that, because the meat has to freeze, right? So it's got to be well under freezing. Anyway, we've had a little bit of a crazy week. So today was one of those crazy days. I was listening to a hearing, and as I was trying to pull it up, Mr. Tom Lyons, he was asked several questions about ICE, their activities, whether he thought the president was right in calling the people domestic terrorists. You know, they only talk about the two. Right, they talk about Alex and what's the other, the woman, Good. They never talk about Keith Porter. Why is that? I mean, there's been this big uproar. If you notice, right? I guess I want to say it's because it's a black thing. I'm really trying not to say that, but you know, sometimes when somebody throw it in your face, it is what it is. Now he was killed. He's one of the first ones killed by ICE, but you know, you barely hear about him. These people are having protests all throughout the nation, and everybody's pissed off, going to this hearing, going to that hearing, and you never hear the name Keith Porter. Why is that?
Well, brother, you spelled it out pretty clearly. Keith Porter, black man, African-American young man, shot and killed by ICE. And like so many of us, black men and women, brown men and women, that are killed, the media presents it either as a white on black crime to play up the racial aspect of it, or it's underreported. So now, in 2026, how many black women, particularly black women, have gone missing and no one is bothering to look for them, right? So it's either reported from a racial angle or it's basically ignored. But, you know, I was listening to something a little while ago on MSNBC, and they were talking about the FBI's handling of the what's called the
Epstein
Epstein file.
files? Oh,
Yes.
please.
Now, what I wanted to call into MSNBC, and I wanted to ask the moderator, Katie Tur, what is the FBI doing today that they did not do 60 years ago? What's different? The FBI is supposed to be the elite of law enforcement agencies in this country. They swear an oath, like all law enforcement, to defend and protect the Constitution,
Right.
and to defend and protect human life. But did they protect Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.?
Well,
Did
you know
they
how it is,
protect?
man. You know what they do? They're picking party over anything else. So
Well,
whatever their party does, they're just following along, right?
this goes beyond party, right? Because did they protect the civil rights workers? They didn't ask the civil rights workers, were you a Democrat, were you a Republican, were you apolitical? They didn't care.
Right.
They did not protect these are people's civil rights, their constitutional rights violated. And what did the FBI do? So they're saying that the FBI is protecting these very wealthy and powerful men who took part in these activities on Epstein's island. And, to me, this is part and parcel of what the FBI has always done. The FBI has always protected wealthy and powerful, particularly white men, right? Did they know who killed some of these civil rights workers? Of course they did. J. Edgar Hoover pretty much had a file on everybody. Yet, instead of saying the people who were the domestic terrorists during that time, he said that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was the most dangerous man in America during that time. What made Dr. King dangerous?
See, this is what I don't understand. I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is what I don't understand. They got all the power. They really do. We have very little power on 13, 14% of the country, and even the percentage doesn't make that much of a difference. But we don't have the political power. The biggest power that we have is buying shit. Politically, we don't have much power. So I don't understand what they're so angry about. I mean, they got everything. What is it they don't have? Well, they got to keep coming down on us. Like if we've taken something from them. What are we taking from them?
Well, power's concentrated in the hands of just, a small cabal of wealthy and very powerful people. The people, working class and poor people, their anger is directed toward us because the media and the government work hand in hand. So let me give an example. After the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., several major urban centers across the country erupted into, acts of, I don't want to just say violence, but I guess you can call it an uprising, right? I don't want to use the term riot, but this was an uprising. People were so angry, so frustrated that they would kill a man who only wanted a peaceful coexistence, who said, don't even fight back when they come to hit you. Don't even fight back. Take the blows, right? Well, when Dr. Martin Luther King died, and in such a violent manner, people just erupted. The government said, in order to end these uprisings, we've got to do something, right? To redirect that anger away from the government, away from, let's say, the larger population. And by that, I mean, Caucasian people. And we got to give them some semblance of hope. So one of the things they came up with was something called affirmative action. We didn't ask for affirmative action. Affirmative action certainly was not a demand we made. Who wants a program that will only give a small portion of us opportunity, and the rest of us will remain in abject poverty? This was not our idea. This was something that was come up. This is an idea that was formulated down in Washington, D.C. Well, they came up with the plan and presented it to us. And I guess rather than take nothing, some of our leadership decided we'll go along with the plan. Well, then the very same government that presented this idea to us and passed this legislation, some of them turned around and said to white men in this country, hey, listen, this is a quota system. These are taking jobs from you. This is taking food or bread off the table of your children. So what they would do, they would tell us, we're going to give you opportunity. But then they would tell Caucasian men, they're taking your opportunity. Those jobs you should have. So the anger was directed at us. Why would they not be angry at the people who wrote the legislation, who passed the legislation?
Because they benefit from it. They benefit from it. I mean, we don't benefit from it. I mean, I'm not as much as, well, even with the affirmative action, the civil rights laws, all of that. Apparently, we were supposed to have benefited from it, but we had this conversation once before. Once we integrated, they didn't integrate everything. They didn't integrate resources. They kind of kicked you out in the cold and said you fend for yourself, and we're not going to give you any backing, any help, or anything like that. So affirmative action was kind of like a ruse. It didn't help. It helped some of us, but basically it wasn't for us. And even the civil rights that was supposed to be for us, they're taking that away now. They're tearing down all the different monuments. They're destroying our history. They're erasing us from history altogether.
Right. And, we were never integrated, right? That's part of the problem. That was the whole idea of the civil rights movement, to integrate into America, to be full members of and enjoy the full benefits that America offers. That never happened and never will, right? At least not the way things are currently with the current leadership and the current brain trust.
It seems to be with any one of them, man. I mean, look, the one thing that I think that we actually deserve and that we should get is reparations. Now, there are people out there that are fighting for it, but why should we have to fight so hard? I'm so tired of hearing people talk about, well, why should we give you reparations? We weren't there during slavery. Well, I'm here to tell everyone, you may not have been there physically, but you damn sure enough benefit from it. You benefit from it like we don't. We giving you 200-300 years of free labor, and what are you be giving us in return? Except to put us down or make us criminals by default. Okay.
Well, after World War II, the U.S. government decided that they needed to compensate Japanese Americans that had been interred for pretty much the entire length of American involvement in World War II. The difference is, Japanese were, of course, maligned in this country. There were, caricatures of Japanese people, but they were people. See, the U.S. Constitution says that we are 3/5 of human beings.
Does it still say that? That's still in the Constitution, or has that been amended?
When was it removed? No, I'm not aware of it ever being.
I'm not telling you it was. This is the question. I'm not trying to.
No, what I'm telling you is I'm not aware of it ever being removed, right? And when you...
Well, we can find out real quick. Let me see.
Yeah.
Hey, Google. In the Constitution, are African Americans still considered to be 3/5 of a person?
On the website blackpast.org, they say, often misinterpreted to mean that African Americans as individuals are considered 3/5 of a person, or that they are 3/5 of a citizen of the U.S. The 3/5 clause, in fact, declared that for purposes of representation in Congress, enslaved blacks in a state would be counted as 3/5 of the...
3/5 of a person. So I guess it hasn't been...
Right, it's still there. Right?
Been changed. So
now, when you can dehumanize someone, right, and say that they are not on the same level in terms of your humanness, then you don't owe them anything. In fact, there's a belief in this country that enough has been given to us, right? That we benefited, only us benefited from programs like affirmative action, from programs like welfare, from other social programs that only we benefited, that this country in their magnanimity for us gave us all these wonderful programs, right? So that because of that, they don't owe us anything, right? And that is still, I think, the prevailing mentality. And nowadays, right? Well, here's what I find interesting. America has a long and sordid history as it relates to human relations, right? You might say racism. Yet in America, there are no racists. Isn't it interesting that we have a long, sordid history of racial discrimination, bigotry, lynching, Jim Crow, the Black codes, and the list goes on and on and on, but there are no racists. So the other day, Super Bowl Sunday, for halftime, they had Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is one of the most streamed artists on the planet.
Yep.
Happened to be from Puerto Rico and sang songs in Spanish. And folks in the MAGAverse went crazy. Now, for the most part, these people are going to tell you, well, we're not racist. We're not bigots. We just think he should have sang in English.
Now, that's why they call it systemic racism. That's why they call it that. A lot of people that are racist, for some reason, they're in denial, or they don't realize that what they're doing is actually portraying racism upon someone else. They don't realize it. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not their fault, because it's kind of is their fault. Just to be from one human being to another, and how you should treat one human being to another. And if you feel that they're not being treated equivalent to you, what do we call that? A Bantu?
Well, you know what? Malcolm X said something. He said that the most dangerous amongst the white people are the white liberals, because those are the ones that will present themselves as being your friend. Those are the ones that will support you, right? They might even come to a march, but they don't want your children to go to school with theirs. They don't necessarily want you living in the same community, right? So they will say, I can accept integration to an extent.
Yeah.
But we need to do it incrementally. We just can't have Black people moving into this neighborhood. They're the ones that, well, you know what? I know redlining is wrong, right? But it's just the way things are for now. If you're patient, over time, things will change, right? So these are the folks that will say, well, I'm not racist because I'm not like those people down south that would burn a cross in your front yard or would lynch you. I would never do that. But at the same time, I won't integrate the schools in my community. Growing up in New York, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but the same man that built Shea Stadium also built or was responsible for building some of the highways that would connect the inner cities with Long Island.
Okay.
And if you're going east toward Long Island, you find that the overpasses are only high enough for cars to go under, to pass under. That was not a mistake. See, during this time in history, we're talking the 40s, 50s, a lot of Black people did not have cars. Our means of transportation was trains and buses. Long Island Railroad, not yet in service to take passengers to Long Island. So you'd have to take a bus. The buses could not fit, under the underpasses.
Right.
The idea was, They didn't want us on Long Island. So this was purposely done. Now, these people might consider themselves liberal, but they just don't want to live around you.
Yeah, I got you. I hear the systemic racism that we have within our country and within our community, but I can't put everybody in the same shoebox, because then they do that to us. And like we say, everybody that's our skin folk is not our kin folk. So just as dangerous have they have been, and even so, we've had on the other side people that have been just as dangerous to us, our cause, if not more. Like we discussed the N-word at one time. Some people, they can find a way that it can be utilized. To me, it can never be utilized. There is no correct way to use it. But for some people, they say, well, yeah, we can use it in a certain context. I don't think so, because nobody else uses anything else as any other content. Just it's when it comes to that particular word. But you already know how I feel about that. But as far as the government is concerned and the people in this government, yeah, there's those that are out to hurt us. But, you know, just like back in the day, we had abolitionists, man, and some of those people died for us. I can't say that they didn't, you know, that they were racist. Maybe some of them
And
were,
that's true.
you know, but still. I mean, if you got people that's dying for me and for my cause, you got people that willing to hide me in the basement because they think that I should be free. And then later on, once I am free, you still don't want me to live next door to you. Then yeah, then we're talking systemic racism.
Well, you know, I'm not saying that applies to everyone who's Caucasian, right? Because it does not apply to everyone, right? You know, there's like a spectrum. There are those who recognize the humanity in everyone, and then there are those who only recognize humanity in themselves. And those are the ones that are the most dangerous, because they don't hear the cries of young children, babies in places like Gaza, right? You know, we go to sleep every night, you know, not realizing the horror that is going on, that is happening to these people in Palestine night after night. What's
You know,
happening
I
in
think people
Sudan?
realize it, but I think we're what are you, impervious to it. You know, it's kind of like a black kid getting shot in the middle of the street by the police. It's something you know. That's Saturday night. You got me to some of us. That's to some other people, like when they with the two people that were just killed, all of a sudden white, oh, it's a big thing because they're white. Now you know, but those things like what's going on in Palestine and the same stuff that's going on right here in America to us and our kids. They're being killed in the streets, but there's no big recognition. When we say Black Lives Matter, they come in all lives matter. And then they're gonna call us terrorist organizations. So first they come in with this denial that they didn't do anything wrong. And then they come in with the attack. They attack you. Then after they attack you, they make themselves the victim, but you the villain, which kind of gives them the right to come in and do whatever they want to do with you. Like with ICE, they think that all people that are immigrants, I don't get where they call people illegal aliens, like they come from some other planet or something. Well, what planet they come from?
Right.
They come into the country, they're leaving someplace where they're being killed and murdered and raped. Their kids are being just abused, and they want to come to a country that's not happening. They come to this country, and the first thing that people say is, oh, they're criminals. These are people that are criminals. These are people that have been convicted of being criminals, and they constantly point the finger at someone else and say that they're the criminal. They're the bad element. They don't look at themselves and look at all the things that they're doing. And America really kills me. Just one more note. America kills me about this here, man. We spend trillions and trillions and billions of freaking dollars every year, every month. And it's not going to the benefit of us. Okay. It's going to make them fat cats fatter and richer. Now you look at the Trump crime family. How much money has the crime family made since Trump's been in office? It's like $3 billion some odd dollars that's gone in his pocket and his family's pocket. $3 billion or so more dollars. Come on, man. And they're gonna get in my case if I spend $20. And then still want to charge me because I'm complaining that I don't want to spend $20 because you charging me $25. And every time I turn around, the price is going up. No money is coming into my pocket, but it's definitely going into theirs.
Right. Well, you know, what you're describing is the dehumanization process, right? So when George Floyd was killed, they didn't think of George Floyd as human being. They just saw George Floyd as an object. They saw Trayvon Martin as an object, right? Let me give you an example. And we're going to use two Caucasian women. So on January 6th, when the crowd entered the Capitol, they got as far as the actual doors of the Senate chamber. One woman decided she was going to break into the Senate chamber. I don't remember her name, but she was shot and killed. She became a martyr to the MAGA movement. This woman, what we know about her, only positive things: that she was a veteran, that she fought for this country, and she died bravely. This woman is on her way to media heaven.
Even though she was breaking the law.
Well,
that does not matter.
Well, no, that does not matter, because the interpretation is she wasn't breaking the law. She was being a hero. Now you take Renee Good. What the media told us about Renee Good, well, she lost custody of her children. She's in a same-sex marriage. That she was a domestic terrorist.
Terrorist, oh my Lord.
So according to the media, well, Renee Good is on her way to media hell. This is the way the media manipulates people's perceptions. So now a lot of people are automatically judging Renee Good. Well, she was a lesbian. Does that mean she should have been killed?
No.
She lost custody of her children. Okay. People lose custody of children, get their children back. Does that mean she should have been killed? Is that justification?
No, and none of that information was out when the cop shot her. He didn't know that she was gay. He didn't know that she was a lesbian. He didn't know any of those things. What he knew was he knew how to pull out that gun and shoot 3 rounds off in 7 seconds, didn't he? That's what he knew how to do. And what was he afraid? He was feared. He was running for his life. And I thought that the law kind of state that if a person is fleeing you, you're not supposed to shoot at them.
Well, people have always said that, right? That you cannot shoot someone in the back because that person is fleeing from you. There are instances where, yes, you can use deadly physical force against someone who is fleeing. The law says you can shoot a fleeing felon, right? Also, if a person's fleeing from you and they have a weapon and they're running towards, say, a heavily populated area, do you allow that person with that weapon? Let's say it's a school. A block away is a school, an elementary school, and children are shortly going to be dismissed from school. Do you allow an armed person to get within close proximity to that school with a weapon, where they can take these children hostage, or these children put at risk of dying in exchange of gunfire? So there are instances where you can shoot people in the back. But
when I hear things like that, what I hear is shoot first, ask questions later. Because I hear people, they seem to come up with these different excuses as to why it's okay. And what is ICE saying? That people are interfering with their investigation, right? Because they're being recorded, which is that's one of our First Amendment rights. We can do that, freedom of speech, right? Okay. So by these people just recording them, or people have something to say against ICE, the first thing they say is, well, they're impeding my federal investigation, which is, that's just straight up bullshit. They're arresting these people, putting them in these holding cells, and keeping them there until whenever they feel that they want to let them go. Because even though they find out, because 95% of the people that they're arresting are not illegal aliens, have done no crimes, none, not one crime.
Tell me what's the difference between right now and what ICE is doing in major cities around this country and what, say, Bull Connor did in Alabama.
Hey, I'm with you, brother.
Were
100%.
they not arresting civil rights workers, civil rights leaders like Dr. King? One of
Absolutely.
Dr. King's most famous publications was a letter from a Birmingham jail, right?
Absolutely. And I
So
tell you,
this
I
is
agree with
nothing
you
new.
100%. I'm with
Right.
you
These were
100%.
mass roundups.
I don't see
Right.
much of the difference of what's going on right now as to what's been going to us for the whole time we've been in this country. We've had to deal with mental abuse, the physical abuse, the being treated as though you're not even human, inhumane treatment. So now it's on the other foot. And I guess they have nobody else to pick on, so they'll just pick on anybody that's not rich and famous or has a lot of money. They're all in the same boat as far as they're concerned. We got to take this one little break, and we'll be right back, all right? We can pick it up on the other side. You good?
I'm good.
A doctor's calling. A company's mission. United for a greater good. When Edmark International, the pioneers of wellness, joined forces with Dr. LaJoyce Brookshire, naturopath, the world gained a new weapon in the fight for true health. Co-created, science-backed, nature-powered. This isn't just a product. This is a movement. Born from decades of groundbreaking research, naturopathic mastery, and Edmark's relentless innovation.
The body wants to heal itself, and we have just given it the ultimate toolkit.
A detox unlike any other. A partnership unlike any other. The future of health starts now.
All right. That looked like a good commercial, brother. I see you doing your thing. Don't worry about it. I got you covered. So let's get on back to where we were. Where did we leave off at? Lost track.
Yeah, we were talking about, the comparison of what's happening now, what happened during the civil rights movement. And I just want to change gears.
Let's go a little further, because we can go further. We can get closer to now as to things that
I was going to.
My bad. Didn't mean to interrupt.
So just changing gears just slightly. I was listening to something this morning, and it dawned on me that we're talking about protecting these wealthy and powerful people that visited Epstein Island. And it dawned on me that there is a great deal of hypocrisy here. Now, what do I mean by that? So for young Black men, and we're talking during this period, segregation and the immediate aftermath of segregation. If a young Black man, say, looked at a white woman in the wrong way, some terrible things could happen to that young man. And we know one well, the case of Emmett Till, 15 years old. He walked into a store in Money, Mississippi, and some people said he whistled at the proprietor of the store, a woman, or some said he had a speech impediment and was stuttering, and the woman took it as a sign of disrespect. Well, we know Emmett Till was murdered in the most brutal of ways. Well, that was done to protect white womanhood, to send a clear message, right? That you do not put your hands, even look the wrong way at a white woman. We will protect white women. Well, here we are in 2026. Why aren't they protecting the white women who were on Epstein Island? These were young girls that were taken there and abused physically, emotionally, in some of the worst ways. And yet, what happened to the protection of white womanhood? Young Black men, how many swung from trees? How many were castrated? How many were severely beaten within inches of their life to protect white womanhood?
See, this is what we don't understand. This is where we get caught up at. This is not about the protection of white womanhood. This is my property, and you don't mess with it.
Well, this is about hypocrisy.
Well,
this is about
this white woman,
hypocrisy.
right? This white woman is my white woman, and I'm going to have the total control because I'm still going to control her. I'm not giving her the same privileges and rights that I have as a white man, and I'm dashing. I'm not giving those privileges to any as they call Negroid at the time, whatever, or black. I'm not giving any rights to them, so they can't touch my property. And if they come over to touch my property, I will lynch them, kill them, whatever I have to do. If I think that they're looking at my property a certain particular way, I'm taking charge. I'm going to be in control, and they're going to be out. When I mean by out, they'll be out by a tree somewhere.
I just see it as the epitome of hypocrisy. You say that white women, they're it is so important to protect them, right? That you have killed people in this country. Thousands of people have died based on allegations lodged by white women, right? To protect them from black men, messages were sent. Some very painful messages. Yet, you don't seem to take that same stance when it is wealthy and powerful white men who are abusing your daughters, your nieces, your granddaughters.
Again, because the woman is not the most important. She's not the important thing. They're not trying to protect her. They give less than two shits about her. Look how long
That's my point.
Before they gave the woman an opportunity.
Is my point. That's the point. Right. That's the point I was making. It is hypocrisy.
Protecting their own property. This is their property. Don't mess with it. I don't care who you are. This is mine. You can't mess with it. But I'm going to destroy and abuse it every opportunity I get, as they done with the white woman throughout the year in this country. But here it is.
That was my point.
I see some
complete hypocrisy.
I see white women. I guess all my skin folk ain't my kinfolk, because I see some white women that don't go along with the status quo. They're looking to change the status quo.
Well, you have to understand something, right? On the plantation, during the period of time we were enslaved, there was a pecking order. And for the slave owner, you had the livestock, then you would have the white woman, and then you have the enslaved. To the slave master, in many instances, the livestock was more important to him than the woman. The livestock fed him. The livestock provided a source of income. White women during that time could not inherit property, could not own property. What rights did white women have? They couldn't vote, right? You know, they were basically paraded. They'd have these societal gatherings where these women were brought out supposedly into society. All this was basically a dressed up slave auction. You take your daughter out there and you introduce them to society, where some man will hopefully marry her, right? And take her to live with him. But what rights would she have living under your roof? None.
Even if she's not living under your roof, as long as she's living in a particular country like this, she don't have any rights any damn way. I mean, for everything she's got to get, she's got to fight for. And a lot of them have grown up, and they've joined a lot of the organization that we've had. You know, the NAACP, the Black Caucus. They've affiliated and associated themselves with those type of organizations, so they have some means and tools of fighting back. Because up until a certain point, there was no fighting back. They can't fight that. So it took a thing of unity. See, this is why they don't want us to unify. And when I say they, I'm talking about the powers that be. And powers that be, you and I, we're not the powers that be. We don't control jack. We barely control what we do from day to day. Okay. But I'm talking about the powers that be, that make all the decisions on how we're going to run this country, how we're going to live in this world. They make all those decisions. Now, we have to come together and unify. Huey P. Newton, I'll always say that. The woman joined the ranks. She and other people have joined the ranks so that we can combat what's going on in the different administrations. Because it's not just this administration. There'll be something else that come along, just like it was back in the day for us. Today, what do they call it? 2025, Project 2025. What do we call it back in the day? The Willie Lynch story about the Willie Lynch cat. Because you look at everything that's going on in that Willie Lynch, and All those little things, the Willie Lynch letter, all the stuff that's in there is also in that 2025, except for now they included more control over white women. So as long as those people are in power, they want to remain in power, because what does power want? More power. It's like money. What do people with money want? More money. So here you got people that want to remain in power. That means they got to control their women. They got to control how many children they're going to have, because white women say we don't want to have so many children anymore. So now they want to force them to have more children to sort of repopulate the ranks, if you want to say. But the women don't have any power. Looks like we don't have any power. The only power that we have is in unity. And as long as they can divide us, they can conquer us. And that's what they've been doing for the longest, divide and conquer. You know? Yep. Whites, blacks, the whole construct.
Well, I think that now things are changing, right? No, I don't think I know things are changing. When you see the emergence of countries in Africa that were part of the former colonial system that are on the rise, that have kicked out the colonial masses, are no longer begging, coming hat in hand, asking for handouts, saying no, France, no, Germany, even though to America, we are going to control our own resources, our own economies, and we're going to build a reality for our people. And we're going to work to tear down these artificial barriers you created called borders. And we're going to facilitate our brothers and sisters returning back to the motherland if they so desire. So I see that even though there's so much turmoil and craziness going on, you know, it's like what Maya Angelou said, yet shall I rise, and I see the rise. And as you see the rise of places like Burkina Faso and Niger and other places, while they rise, you see the steady decline of America. And as long as Donald J. Trump is at the helm, just like all of his businesses, all of his marriages, he destroyed them. And brick by brick, he is dismantling this country. And the crazy thing is that people in this country that support Donald Trump that said, we love America.
What did I
we
say?
love our democracy. Now they are willing to say, well, maybe democracy isn't as important as we thought it was. Maybe, just maybe, we need a dictator. Maybe, just maybe, some of these rules that have been in place for hundreds of years, these constitutional rights, maybe we don't need them or all of them anymore.
So again,
maybe
what are we doing? We're selling our freedom. We're selling our freedom for securities. That's what that sounds like. Like we're giving up our freedoms so that we can be secure, not realizing that it doesn't really make us more secure. It kind of puts us in captivity, if you want to say. Because it's taking away our rules, our laws, our regulations, not being able to speak. See, today somebody may feel yeah, that's the right thing to do. It's okay until it happens to them.
Well, it has happened to them. And, you know, after 9/11, the government came out with a new set of rules called the Patriot Act. And the Patriot Act chipped away at constitutional protections. And this has been a long cycle of the government systematically stripping away constitutional rights. Well, Trump is just blatant with it, right? He doesn't attempt to mask it. You know, he just makes it clear, I don't really give a damn about the Constitution. I don't really care about state or federal law. In his mind, I am the law. I make the law. I make the determination. And thus far, he has been allowed to do that. No one really of any consequence is challenging him. The Supreme Court.
Why is that?
Why are they
so afraid of this cat, man? I mean, he got two legs, two arms. So why are they so afraid of this cat? You know, when I was in the military, they told me never be afraid of something you can kill. You know, so why are they so afraid of this cat, man? What's the deal? What gives you so much power?
You have to understand something, right? The leadership, and not just in America, But if you look at places like the UK, right, where you have the royal family, these folks in power always have equated themselves with the deity, right, as being almost godlike. Just think of the amount of reverence that the king or the queen gets. You have to bow down before King Charles, right? Same thing you had to do to the queen. In this country, we have a cult of personality. People, actors, sports figures, right? That we are fanatics about them. Same thing with Trump. Trump is looked on in some quarters as being godlike. And because of that, people have this belief, well, God can do no wrong. And if Trump is equated with God, well, then Trump can do no wrong. So even though Trump said, I'm going to release all of the information on the Epstein files before he was elected, now that he's in the White House, he wants to change the narrative. And every day,
he wants to have so much redaction. What does his name appear hundreds of thousands of times in the Epstein files over and over again?
I think they're saying Trump's name appears more in the Epstein files than Jesus appears. Jesus' name appears in the Bible.
It probably does. It probably
and
does.
That's a lot of times.
This is what I don't understand. I mean, what at what point is it going to take for people to wake up? Hey, this man is a crook, man. This man is as crooked as the crookedest tree. You know,
I don't think
he's as crooked as a crooked road.
I think there will always be a percentage of the American people that will always support Trump no matter what. I think what's going to happen is that, so you talked about the amount of money or the increase in wealth for the Trump family. Well, where's this money coming from? Trump is looting the treasury. One of the oil tankers that was seized, Trump, of course, sold the oil. And that money, I think somewhere about $500 million, was put into an account in Qatar. Does the U.S. government have access to bank accounts in Qatar?
Nope. You know what he's doing.
He's
not ripping up the treasury. He's ripping us off. Every week
when we are the treasury. We are the treasury.
When you get your paycheck, you see all them taxes that you pay?
We are the treasury.
And what do they say?
So he's robbing the American people.
That's right.
That's robbing the American people.
And that's why he loves the poorly educated. All right.
And because
the education you have, the easier you are to manipulate.
And you know something?
Anything, and you'll believe it.
You have to understand something, right? Trump is not a smart man, but he's crafty. When the heat is on, Trump says, what can I do to redirect or deflect away from the Epstein files and to get my base back in my corner? Let me think. How about I show Barack and Michelle Obama as apes? When he did that, right?
I'm sorry, brother. I mean,
when he did that, it
was like horrible.
He got many in his base to say, "Yeah, Donnie, you're back with us now," because that's exactly what they need to see. That's what they need to see.
I can never understand how anybody can depict us as being apes or so forth and so on. Because if you take an ape, they got all the hair. They're hairy from top to bottom. The only humans I know that look like that are Caucasians. That's one. And two, if you take the so-called ape and you shave all his hair off, his pigmentation is white, not black, or brown. Right. And he got thin paper lips. Don't he got the thin ass lips? Right?
Right.
Just like the Caucasian, they have thinner lips, the whole nine. So to me, they look closer to being Neanderthals or apes than we do. So why do they call us that? It's not in our DNA, but Neanderthals are definitely in Caucasian's DNA, but it's not in our DNA.
Well, you know what? If you say something and no one challenges it, then it becomes truth. And for Trump, no one challenged him on that level. They said, he said, well, it was an unnamed staffer. I don't know typically, I don't know anything about it. But now many in the Republican Party, even some of his most loyal coons like Tim Scott are saying, well, I pray this isn't true because this is the most racist thing I've ever seen. Well, Tim Scott, you're from South Carolina, right? That was the seat of the Confederacy. So what do you mean this is the most racist thing you've ever seen? How about when the Republican Party refused to shake your hand on camera? But that is the most racist thing you've ever seen? But that is a lot considering the source, Tim Scott. But yeah,
he's in charge. Is he in charge of HUD or housing? Is that what it is now?
No. Tim Scott, I forget what committee he sits on. But no, he just is one of the senators from South Carolina.
He did with Ben Carson. The man's a genius when it comes to using his hands, surgery, the whole nine. They put him in charge of HUD. Can you understand? Not your Surgeon General, but HUD. I didn't understand how did they put one with the other? Why? Because he grew up in the projects, so they made him an authority of what it's like to grow in the HUD housing. Come on.
Well, how does Kash Patel become the FBI director? How does Pete Hegseth, who was a drunken host on Fox News, become the head of the Department of Defense? Right? How does that happen?
All of them, like I said, all of them up there are corrupt. And this whole administration is a joke. Really. And the people that are going along with it, I'm sorry to say, I'll put it to you this way. Who's the fool? The fool or the fool that follows the fool? Which fool is the bigger fool? Okay? Because there's sure a lot of fools that are out there following this fool. So they must be bigger, dumber fools, because this one fool can manipulate them and make them think that the king have clothes, and the king ain't got no clothes. The king running around naked.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, right. It's interesting. So, the Bible talks about this character called the devil, right? The devil has been, throughout, our sojourn in America, devil's been depicted as some dude with a red suit, with a red pitchfork. And if somebody with a red pitchfork and a red suit came and knocked on your door and asked to come in, you look out and say, wait a minute, I recognize you as being the devil.
Right.
I'm not going to have this conversation with you. I'm not letting you in my house. Well, there are times when people become blinded to what should be obvious, right? Now let's talk about this devil for a second. According to the Bible, Eve is having a conversation with a snake. You ever had a conversation with a snake?
No, didn't they say serpent?
Well, serpent, snake, whatever it is, the fact of the matter is, it ain't human.
Right.
So if you talking to a serpent or a snake, doesn't something dawn in you? Something ain't right here. These things do not talk. You do not have conversations with animals. If you're having a conversation with an animal, either you're crazy or something is really wrong. But she was blinded to the fact of who this serpent represented. And people are blinded to the fact as to who Trump really represents. That's the real reason they're afraid of him. It's not the political consequences. That's not really it. Trump is backed by some very powerful, dark spirits.
You mean serpents?
I'm talking about demons.
Yeah, I'm just being funny. Yeah, demons. But we're going to do this here, brother. Just please, put a little note or something in the page so we mark off exactly where we're at so we know we're going to pick it up. And I'm sure we'll probably have some other stuff that we're going to have to rap about next week. Also, next week, I believe you have a brother coming in. Are we going to have him on the show? He's going to talk about
Yes. And I'm hoping that the people listening today will join us next Tuesday because this brother, Professor Chuck Ambers is just a griot, and I mean that in every sense of the word. He is a veritable storehouse of information as it relates to African history. And, you know, for this time, African History Month, it is so important that we do this throughout the year. But for this month, it is vitally important that we share our story. And there's very few that can tell our story better than this man who will hopefully join us next Tuesday. So if you have questions regarding Black history, please write them down, save them, so that next week, when Professor Ambers is on, he can answer some of those questions for you in such an eloquent way. So I hope that you'll join us next week.
And if anybody gets a chance and you actually want to check out a pretty good writer that I happen to, he's been writing things for the longest. He's got a book called Things That Matter. It's a pretty good book. You get a chance, you can check it out. This is his name. I'll put it down in the bottom. I believe it's pronounced Achabe. The E makes the A sound. So Achabe is his last name. And he too has written plenty of books about African literature and African American literature. He recently died in 2013. I know that's not too recent, but I got a chance to read some of his stuff, and I think he has a lot to say. Also, I hope everybody can see that. It's called Burn Down Master's House. So if you want to know what book I'm reading, well, this is the book I'm reading now by a brother named Clay Kane. And the book is called Burn Down Master's House. Now, he also wrote a book called The Grift, which I enjoyed that book very much, but he talked about Black Republicans from the party of Lincoln to the cult of Trump. So if anybody wants to just make a recommendation, not promoting anybody, I believe that we need to have a little more literacy in reading, especially when it comes to us. We need to read a little bit more. That's all, so we can learn a bit more about our history. The book is a fiction, so it reads like it's nonfiction, but it is a fiction book, but it's based on historical times and things that went on. Again, this is called, let me just show it to you one more time, just in case you guys don't see it. You see what it's called? It's called Burn Down Master's House, right, by Clay Kane. And my wife was nice enough, she just picked it up for me at Barnes & Noble. So you get a chance, you go down there, check out the book, check out Achabe, see what he's got to be up to. Next week, we're going to pick it up where we left off at. And I guess we're going to say peace and hotep.
Hotep.